Welcome to educator.com. This lesson is about multiplying rational numbers. In this lesson, you will learn to multiply rational numbers and to raise fractions to positive whole numbers. Applications for this are to find dimensions for a building and also to increase portions. A rational number, remember, is a number that can be written as a over b, where b is a non-zero number. Rational numbers are also integers, fractions, and repeating and terminating decimals. An exponent tells you how many times a number or a base is used as a factor. And a power includes the base or the factor along with the exponent and represents repeated multiplication of the same number. You can review exponents and powers in the previous lesson about exponents. Let's try multiplying decimals. 1.05 times 0.32. When multiplying decimals, you don't need to line up the decimal, but you will need to later count the decimal places. 2 times 5 is 10, and 2. Hold the place, 15, and 3. 0, 6, 3, and 3. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 places, so that takes us to 1, 2, 3, 4 places. Next, let's try multiplying with a negative decimal. 5 times 5 is 25. Hold the place, 2 times 5 is 10. Hold 2 places, and 1 times 5 is 5. So we have 5, 2, and 6. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 places again. 1, 2, 3, add the 4th place, and our answer is going to be negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. Let's try multiplying rational numbers in word problems. A pipe is 1 3/8 inches long. A builder needs 7 of these pipes to finish his project. How long will the pipes be when they are all connected? 1 3/8 times 7. So to multiply a fraction along with the whole number, we need to change the forms. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 3 is 11 over 8. I've changed it into an improper fraction. And I'm also going to change the 7 into an improper fraction by putting it over a 1. Now I can multiply straight across the numerators and the denominators. 11 times 7 is 77, and 8 times 1 is 8. And lastly, I'm going to change the improper fraction into a mixed number so that I could see how many inches of pipe this pipe is going to be, the total pipes are going to be. 8 will go into 77 about 9 times, leaving me with 5. So the total distance these pipes will be is 9 5/8 inches. Let's try raising a fraction to a fraction. Raising a fraction to a power, which in this case is also multiplying fractions. If you have 2 over 3 to the second power, you're going to be multiplying 2 over 3 times 2 over 3. That's the second power. 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 3 is 9. Let's look at where this negative sign is placed. It's outside the parentheses, so this 2 exponent is only going to be touching the fraction. So that means it's going to be negative 7 over 10, and the exponent tells us we're only repeating the fraction, not the negative sign. So a negative times a positive here will be a negative. 7 times 7 is 49, and 10 times 10 is 100. And lastly, here, if this fraction is written 1 over 5 to the third, or it could be written as negative 1 over 5 to the third. Now notice in the top one, the exponent is only in regards to the 1 because there are not parentheses holding it down to the 5. So you have negative 1 over 5 times 1 times 1. Only the 1 is being repeated. And that's going to be negative 1 over 5. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Now in the second problem here, we have negative 1 over 5 to the third. 5 times 5 times 5. So our answer is going to be negative 1 over 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125. So notice the placement of the exponent is very important. We have 3 situations where the exponent will affect the problem differently. Let's try another example of multiplying fractions. Negative 7 over 30 times 33 over 8. In some situations, it may help you to cross-simplify because that will help you to work with smaller numbers. Diagonally here, I see I can divide both numbers by 3. 33 divided by 3 will give me 11, and 30 divided by 3 will give me 10. And negative times a positive is negative, and 7 times 11 is 77, and 10 times 8 is 80. So now I can see that since I pre-simplified during the problem, cross-simplifying, my last step does not need to be simplified. And in fact, I got to work with smaller numbers, such as 7 times 11 rather than 7 times 33. Let's compare these two exponents. This exponent tells me to repeat multiplying the negative 5 over 2. So it's also telling me to repeat the negative. Negative times a negative is a positive times a negative is a negative. I like to figure out the sign first so that I don't forget it at the end. 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So negative 125 over 8. Next, let's try this one. The exponent is only with regards to the fraction inside the parentheses, so you only have one negative out front. So a negative all the way through, and 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125, and 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So in this case, our answer comes out the same, but that's because in both situations, we had odd numbers of negatives. If you have a case where you have an even number of negatives, your answer may come out differently. For example, if we had originally negative 5 over 2 to the second power versus negative 5 over 2 to the second power. So this would tell me to repeat the negative, and I know that negative times a negative would give me a positive, 25 over 4. But in this case, I only have one negative out front, and my answer would end up being negative 25 over 4. So in some situations, when there are odd numbers of negatives, your answer will come out the same. However, when there are even numbers of negatives versus an odd number, your answer will be very different. So make sure that you carefully think about the placement of the exponent. A cook uses 13 3/4 pounds of flour a week. About 4/5 of the flour is for making fresh pasta. How many pounds of flour does he use a week for making pasta? So that means that we're going to take 13 3/4 and we're going to multiply that with 4/5 to find out how much is used for pasta. Well, I need to change my mixed number into an improper fraction. So I do 13 times 4 gives me 12, 4, and 5, plus the numerator is 55 over 4. Let's check that, 12, 5, yes. And then I'm going to multiply with 4 times 5. Remember to cross-simplify if possible, because that will give you much smaller numbers to work with. Diagonally, 4 divided by 4 will simplify to 1 and 1. Diagonally here, 55 divided by 5 will simplify to 11 and 1. So now my numbers are much smaller. Instead of having to multiply 55 times 4, I only have to multiply 11 times 1 and 1 times 1, which simplifies to 11. And in terms of this word problem, he uses 11 pounds of flour each week for making his pasta. Next, let's look at some spending. Robin spends 1/4 of her income on rent, 5/8 of her income on bills, and 1/8 of her income as she chooses. Robin makes $4,000 per month, so how much of her income is spent on the rent, on the bills, and her other items? Well, let's first start off by taking 1/4 of 4,000. We're going to need to change 4,000 into an improper fraction, so we put it over a 1. And I can cross-simplify here. Dividing by 4, I'll get 1 and 1,000. 1,000 times 1 is 1,000, and 1 times 1 is 1. So simplify that again, and we see that she spends $1,000 on rent. Next, she spends 5/8 of her income on bills. So let's take 4,000 over 1 and multiply with 5/8. Once again, we can cross-simplify. We could divide by 4 and get 2, divide by 4 and get 1,000. And that'll help us work with smaller numbers again. So then we have 5,000 over 2. 5,000 divided by 2 is $2,500. And that's how much of her income is spent on bills. And lastly, she gets to spend an eighth as she chooses. So let's take 4,000 over 1 and multiply by 1/8. Let's cross simplify again to make our numbers smaller and easier to work with. 1,000 times 1 is 1,000, and 1 times 2 is 2. And that leaves us with $500 for her to spend as she chooses. Let's check our answer to make sure that we've done this problem correctly. If so, we should have a total of $4,000. So we have 0, 0, 5 times 5 is 10, carry 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4,000. So that's the breakup of her monthly income. Thank you for watching educator.com.